Welcome to A Spa for Your Mind, guided meditations to help calm and focus your mind. We will use an active meditation to engage your imagination and keep your mind occupied and relaxed. These visual journeys will be interwoven with passive meditations or periods of silence that will help sharpen your focus and concentration. When you hear repeating phrases or counting followed by silence, try to continue that activity in your mind until the story resumes. So sit back, get comfortable, and close your eyes. Let's begin by taking a few deep breaths. Inhale through your nose and hold. Then slowly exhale through your mouth. Drop your shoulders. Inhale through your nose and hold. And slowly exhale through your mouth. Feel the tension drain away. Inhale through your nose and hold. And slowly exhale through your mouth. Excellent. Let's begin. I recall the pleasant sound upon the shingles overhead as the dark clouded sky let fall its telltale drops to warn us of the coming rain. How many times have I glided into dreamland under the drowsy influence of the patter on the roof? Who can forget these rainy days, with their games of hide-and-seek in the woods? How we looked out upon the muddy puddled road and laughed at the great drifting sheets of water that ever poured down from some bursting cloud and roared upon the roof. Out in the dismal barnyard, we saw the row of hens huddled together under the drizzling shed, and the gabled coop nearby, in whose dry retreat the motherly old hen spread her tawny wings and gathers her little family peeping so contentedly beneath her. 1 chick, 2 chicks, 3. The ducks dabble in the neighboring puddles and churn the muddy water in search of floating treats. Little did we suspect the mission of those rainy days, so dreary and dismal, or the sweet surprise preparing for us in the myriad of mysteries of life beneath the sod, where every root and thread-like rootlet in the thirsty earth was drinking in that welcome moisture, and numberless sleeping bulbs, dwelling in the darkness, were awakening into life to seek the light of day, waiting only for the glory of a sunny dawn to burst forth from their hiding places. That sunny morn does come at last, and in its beams it sheds abroad a power that stirs the deepest root. It is indeed a glorious sunrise. The first colors of the day, the deep pinks and reds, crest the horizon as the sun breaks its nightly slumber. The underside of the clouds nearest the light appear to radiate fire, as if flames could spontaneously erupt at any moment. The nighttime creatures, now tucked in their burrows and dens, sleep soundly and await their turn to reign once again. Crickets, still chirping, are convinced the day has not yet begun. Chirp, chirp, chirp. The stillness is broken only by the earliest of risers, with occasional tweets and sweet tunes that float through the air with little competition. A light mist hangs in the air and blurs the edges of the world around, confusing the watcher between what is real and what is not. Blades of green grass, wrapped in a blanket of dew, droop from the weight of the droplets and await their relief when the sun's tender warmth reaches them. In a moment's time, the sun's colors have changed, almost imperceptibly, from pinks and reds to reds and oranges. Bright to be sure, but beginning to soften just a bit. The morning light, now kissing the tops of the trees nearby, encouraged their shadows to stretch and yawn across the land, awakening them to a new day. Leaves, heavy with condensation, build upon the chorus of crickets and birds, and drip a steady percussion to nature's sweet song. Drip, drip, drip. The influence of the light expands outward and begins to encompass larger and larger parts of the sky. And what was once red and orange has changed altogether to muted pinks and purples, as if these were the only colors available when the sky was painted. The heavens, now shaded in pastels, lull one into a moment of reflection. Taking stock of this moment in time fills the heart with gratitude and contentment. Days like this happen often enough, but the time taken to observe and appreciate them are few and far between. Rising higher and higher in the sky and shining its light on the land below, the sun continues to awaken a multitude of animals and insects, buzzing and chirping, buzzing and chirping, buzzing and chirping. The constant hum of activity now makes it more difficult to isolate the sound of one individual culprit. Its purpose is to be accepted in totality, as a great choral framework for a new day. Layered upon the sounds of nature are the morning scents, as if a crew of busy workers cleaned everything overnight, just to make sure the early riser was treated to the sweetest smells. With the sun fully shining a glorious yellow, and the blue of the sky beginning to deepen, the clouds turn almost pure white, with only the faintest hints of color remaining. These shapeshifters pass through the atmosphere in a constant parade of ever-changing forms. One might see a lion, a rabbit, a turtle. To be sure, many a child has spent a lazy afternoon lying on the grass and daydreaming. The fanciful ponderings on these puffs of nature only restricted by the imagination. The mist is gone, no longer blurring the senses. The blades of grass are now dried by the warmth of the sun. The crickets are silent as they slumber, and the explosion of morning colors has yielded to blue and white. Shadows shrink and the sun rises higher and higher and higher. The clustered buds upon the silver maples burst in their exuberance and fringe the graceful branches with their silken tassels. The restless crocus, for months an unwilling captive in its winter prison, can contain itself no longer, and with its little overflowing cup lifts its face to the blue heaven. Golden daffodils burst into bloom on drooping stems and nod their little faces right and left, right and left, right and left. The air is filled with a faint perfume, in which the very earth yields its fragrance, the wild aroma only known to spring. Our little feathered friends, so few and far between as yet, are full of song. The bluebird woos his mate with a loving warble, full of tender sweetness, as they flit among the swaying twigs, or ply the diligent search for some snug nesting place among the hollow crannies of the orchard trees. The noisy blackbirds hold high carnival in the top of the old pine tree. The woodpecker taps upon the hollow limb in his resonant rhythm, and the hungry crows hang around the great oak tree upon the knoll. Down through the meadow, gurgling streams babble as of old, and along its fretted banks, the alder thickets swinging at every breeze, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. The fields are vocal with their sweet spring medley, in which the happy carols of the song sparrows form a continuous pastoral. Now we hear the mellow bell of the wood thrush, echoing from some neighboring tree, and all intermingled with the chatter and the gossip of the martins on their lofty house. Birds in the sky, birds in the trees and on the ground, birds everywhere, and not a silent throat among them. But far and near, from mountainside and meadow, from earth and sky, uniting in a happy choral of perpetual jubilee.